Hello and welcome back to Schellhammer TV. This is our third video on Dr. Schellhammer's theory of global threats. Today we're going to be focusing on education. Now when we say education, it's not just public education, but education that comes in the form of human values and religion. Dr. Schellhammer, can you please give us some examples of what you mean by education as a global threat?
First of all, a short insight into the history of education.
Okay.
We have since centuries always pioneers of education. They explored and developed many human values. And that goes back, I would say, more than 2,000 years. So we have also pioneers in psychology since several hundred years, since 150 years, quite important for today, and they too developed human values for the modern world, last century or for our century. Today, there is also philosophy. They have a background of 3,000 years, 5,000 years with exploring human life and also human values. So we have an immense history of values. So unfortunately, I would say most of these values are ignored today, are gone. The richness of human values, people don't even know that this exists. So, and this has consequences for the entire world population. So, too many people, they give not really importance about learning. People want easy, fast solutions. Those who have a baby, then after 1-2 years, they need to give the baby to somebody else to care for. They want to make money. And governance in general, I have the impression that is in many areas around the globe, not all areas, they do not give importance to education in general. They are absolutely not prepared for the future. So the consequence is that humans are in general very submissive to authorities. They believe that they do things right. They do not have any responsibility for the collective issues today. So this creates then billions of blind sheep, driven-haired animals, followers without thinking, and many cowards and still people with ignorance, a lot of ignorance. And this influences societies, this influences all the big global threats we have today.
Do you think the importance of, say, the public education, what we're led to believe is gaining an education for our future, which is obviously everything we learn in the classroom, do you think the importance of that has been so immense that we've almost forgotten or we're no longer taught about human values as education? Why do you think after so many thousands of years that human values no longer seems to hold an importance when it comes to education?
Yeah, there's a field of discussions for many hours to explore the philosophical issue also. First of all, education globally in the average is on the lowest level of history, but the technical world is very advanced.
Yeah.
So there is a separation between the world population on the one side and the technology and the production processes on the other side. This leads then to a lot of failure in real life. People do not connect with what they are inside. They do not even feel that there could be a need to find a self-identity. They don't learn at school, or in general, the young generation, that they should learn permanently, not just to go to school, but learning as a part of life. So logically, this leads to failure.
Yeah.
This leads to failure on the one side in social life, in the understanding of family, in the understanding of education, family education, not school education, and the focus of the young generation today is on satisfaction and not on learning. So we have with these fundamental failures around the globe.
So maybe the focus is on their needs rather than values, and that could be where it's failing. Now, in some of your books, you extensively talk about the future education for scholars and people. You mentioned some fundamental critiques about public education. Can you tell us a little bit more about this and what's in your books?
Yeah, let's talk about positive dimensions of the whole thing. So, human values, they're not just here. We must learn to understand what it is, what the effects are of living with values, human values. So, and what people do not learn at school, or should and could learn at school, is what is love about, what is the truth in social life, communication, what can make people strong in life, the ways of critical thinking that's totally ignored in most schools, but they could implement, talking about simply thinking, critical thinking, having questions, asking questions, to looking behind of what we see superficially. Creative learning, joyful learning, that is missed as well. Many levels of public school. So the young generation, they don't even know what is confidence, self-confidence. This should be integrated in school to train, to learn, to build up.
But don't you think that could be quite difficult? For example, obviously we look at education on a global scale. Culturally speaking, different areas of the world hold different values. So teaching things such as love, would that not be difficult because love means different things to different cultures? Or are you on about self-love, loving thy neighbour, and it as a mental function rather than love is between two people?
Yeah, love is a general understanding about life.
For yourself?
Is to respect what we get.
Okay.
To learn how we have to treat the nature we get, everything we can get, to learn, to understand, and to appreciate that we can grow, we can develop ourselves, and that is even necessary.
Definitely, especially when we think about how different pockets of society will have different kind of social values, social experiences. Obviously, there's the necessities on an economic scale as well, what's important. So if you're just stuck in that small bubble, you're not understanding the bigger picture. So how can you love life, yourself and others without that knowledge? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, there's even more. Practical example, we all have dreams at night.
Yes.
Everybody has. Since ever and forever we have dreams. And a majority or most people say that's rubbish, it's not important, yeah? They say that because they never learned to interpret dreams or to understand what is the importance and the value we get out from dreams. So this, as it is part of human being, we should learn about and take benefit. So it's the same in meditation. There are many, many concepts. Forget about what is not really efficient. This is so simple. It starts with just anti-stress programs, for example, just to center with the body, the energy of the body. This must be part of living. And we are running to learn at school for history, for books, for this and that, and yeah, everywhere then there is a kind of brainwashing. So we are not rooted, or the entire humanity is not rooted on values, is not rooted what we get from life as a tool, as as a perspective. And everything comes from inside and not from shopping.
Yeah.
This is quite different. So education ignores the entire world on the positive side, what we need to learn to manage from inside. On the other side, do we ever had talks in schools about lies and cheat and manipulation and brainwashing and all this? Yeah, but this is everywhere around the globe. So people exclude realities that are every day influencing our behavior, our thinking, our emotions. So education should have an attitude of permanent development.
Maybe the problem there is that it's all a personal journey, and the education system today seems to be obsessed with figures. You do well, you get a good grade. You do poorly, you get a bad grade. You're passing or you're failing in life, and it's measurable. If we start talking about, individual journeys, spiritual awareness, spiritual development, maybe the schools will feel that they haven't got control on numbers. And as we know by the expectations of governments and the education system, if they can't measure it, maybe it's not something that's important. But actually what you're saying is the things that aren't measurable are so important, because without knowledge and awareness, we don't know how to govern in that sense our own selves and needs and desires to be happy in life.
Yes, indeed. In general, to summarize that point, is public education is necessary, and we get from public education basic tools. But what is much more important about being human, about human life, about our mental potentials and development of mental powers, they ignore all these realities. This makes, obviously, the global threat even more difficult to understand, more difficult to find ways of dealing with it, because it always focuses on technical solutions and not on human solutions. But it's about human solution.
Well, it's one commonality among the whole globe, isn't it? We're all human.
Yeah.
We all have emotions. Dr. Schellhammer, you've dedicated a lot of your life to future-orientated education. And for a new understanding on religion, why is there such an importance on understanding religion or viewing it in a different way? Can you tell us some more about that?
Yes. First, religion as an institution. We have religions, many religions, since 5,000 years or 10,000 years, with thousands of different ways of understanding our world here and the other world there. What is religion? Genuine religion, for example. So we can find in the Bible, just to take an example, there are about religions, poems, there are about fairy tales a lot. There's a lot about myths, love songs, and rules, obviously, as well, how to live, given from the institution. So the question is this for adults, or is this for children? And what does this have to do with religion? And mainly, it has not much or nothing to do with religion, but with education. So in general said, all religions offer a kind of education. Yeah. So which one is helping for developing life? Which one is just, let's say, brainstorming? It's just brainwashing, I want to say. What is ideological and not genuine from human life? So we need to find new answers to understand what is substance for life.
So do you think maybe, and just from my personal perspective, sometimes with religion, people aren't encouraged to ask questions. It's to accept the faith and have, belief that it's all going to be well in the end. Do you think it's not a case of religion has the issues? Perhaps people who follow religion need to learn how to ask questions and look for answers rather than just being in the book?
Yeah, I can come back to education first. We have 200 years of collective education. 100 years the world covers education. But at the same time, we had continuously wars.
Yeah.
So why? Means education is a failure. The same with religion, to come now to religion. Thousands of years, concepts, many concepts. We have endless religious wars in our holy books. So why? Because there is something missed. Yeah. Because it is a concept that forces people to believe and not to think about, not to ask questions, not to vary a bit the way of living. So that's why also from religion, from education, we enter here into a future with failure, complete failure.
Well, if we look at the history, we can assume so. And history tends to repeat itself if nothing changes. So if we've had wars for all these years and education and religion isn't changing, we can question if anything is going to change unless the mindset and attitude towards it changes.
You say something very important. I didn't even know that 10, 20 years ago, so clear it is. We repeat. Everything is a repetition from the past and goes back many centuries, if not millenniums. So that means people don't learn, people don't ask questions. People delegate to the governors everything, all solutions. So now about religion, to come back to this issue, they do not have a concept of inner development. They have no concept for self-knowledge as a practice. They don't teach the people to learn to understand dreams. Although in the Bible, in holy books, all kinds, we have dreams, important dreams. And we have a development, a mental development that is rational or that is simply biological. On the other hand, the mental functions is something that we can develop, we must develop. This is also excluded in education. This is excluded in all religions. So self-knowledge is a challenge for everybody, would challenge governors, would challenge education and religions. So if I take one important point is then religion should learn to protect children, women, the archetypes of the soul, the inner life, and they do not. So what for is religion good in that way? So it's not a rejection of religion, but the concept of religion. So we must have religion, but genuine, archetypal, well thought, and comprehensible for everybody. That would help to solve the big global problems.
Now, Dr. Schellhammer, you've mentioned archetypes a couple of times there. Now, we could speak hours and hours about archetypes and the collective unconscious and commonalities between people. If that is a topic that interests our viewers, obviously subscribe, make sure you drop a comment, and we will have a discussion on archetypes and your theory behind those and how they can help us have a better society, spiritually, body and mind. Dr. Schellhammer, I want to have a final kind of thought from you. What does humanity need to sustain some kind of positivity and even, dare I say it, peace on earth?
Peace on earth is the result of inner elaborations. Peace on earth is not something we can go to buy.
Okay.
So peace on earth starts with peace in the inner life, and everybody must find inner peace. That's something periodically. For example, so humanity needs new, substantial, spiritual concepts, substantial, practical, comprehensible, and that promotes all the mental functions, the understanding of life, the meaning of life we all have, for example, and to become responsible for what we are, for our potentials to develop it. And this starts early childhood. This starts with in families. Parents can show examples the right way. And yeah, life on Earth is not just something unknown. We come and go and we don't know why and what for. It's so simple. Each one has a kind of inner journey. Or every 10, 20 years, the journey may change on another level, obviously. Yeah? So to experience this and to build up with inner freedom this journey towards the future, that is what the entire humanity needs to learn.
And that's what needs to be implemented into the education system.
Yes,
and it
exactly.
makes sense if we all hold inner peace, there's not going to be this need for war and conflict because we'll all be happy. And do you think understanding our position has a value to obviously our social society, and they may not all be the same? That's okay as well. Do you think maybe half the problem is we're kind of ingrained to gain an education, to earn money, to buy goods and feel success on that level? Whereas what we need to be learning is the highest level of success is being at peace with yourself and understanding yourself. And is that the direction you say education needs to go in?
Yes, to make from inside something good for the world. For everybody. Can be small, looks like unimportant, but 8 billion different humans.
Yeah.
So we are not copy.
No.
Yeah. So everybody has the opportunity to create something, yeah? And to use and shape all the inner tools, the inner potentials. That's the meaning of life here. Yeah. And that would change the world. Must be realistic, yeah? There are always areas, this is a rather dark world, a difficult world. Some generations may need 100 years, but we don't have 100 years just to try something. Yeah, but it's about deeper education, deeper understanding, transforming it into ways of living. The same from religion.
Thank you, Dr. Schellhammer. Thank you.